such a pleasure to be with you right here on the India Development Debate on ET Now. I'm Supriya, Shrinate, and with me is Sandeep, Gurumurthy. It really is high drama as far as Karnataka is concerned after the BJP, which emerged as the single largest party with 104 seats under its belt, fell short of a clear majority, which is 113. In a curious turn of events, the Congress, which managed to win only 78 seats, offered unconditional support for Janata Dal's secular leader Kumaraswamy to form a government in the state. Remember, JDS finished last on the table with just 38 seats. That's right, under 40 seats for the JDS. Playing to an already written script, Kumaraswamy quickly staked claim to form the new government, flashing the support letters from the Congress and the two independent MLAs as well. Meanwhile, B.S. Yediyurappa, the BJP's chief ministerial candidate, also met Karnataka Governor Vajubhai Vale, staking claim to form the new government.
The ball is now firmly in the governor's court, who has undefined powers in deciding who will be given the first chance to form the government. Addressing party workers at the BJP headquarters in Delhi, Prime Minister Modi said the Karnataka mandate will make the BJP a formidable force in the south ahead of the 2019 polls. Ironically, it's role reversal for the Saffron Party, which wrested power in Goa and Manipur despite the Congress emerging as the largest party in both the states. The battle of ballots may have come to an end in Karnataka, but the real war has just begun. In fact, as a political pot boiler unfolds in the southern heartland, we're joined in this special edition of India Development Debate by five stellar panelists. Swaminathan Iyer, consulting editor, ET Now; Anand Ranganathan, scientist and author; Sadanand Dume, resident fellow, American Enterprise Institute, and representing two political parties. We've got Narendra Taneja of the BJP and Nasser Hussain of the Congress Party. Narendra Taneja, I guess I'll have to start with you tonight on the show. And it seems like so near yet so far. No one seems to be willing to give up just yet, despite the fractured mandate. For the BJP, despite emerging as the single largest party, getting to about 113 seats, in a sense, did you celebrate a tad too early this morning?
Well, not really, because it's a massive victory for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Massive victory. In democracy, you have to go by what the kind of mandate you've got, the size of the mandate you get from the people. And the mandate from the people of Karnataka is very clear. The mandate is to Bharatiya Janata Party to govern the state of Karnataka, and mandate to Congress Party to sit in the opposition, mandate to JDS to sit in the opposition. But if they try to do something different, we are confident the people of Karnataka will punish them in due course of time. You see, the point is also when you look at, we are of course looking at what the governor has to say on the issue, whether we get the invitation from the governor. And but if you look at the constitutional convention, is that the single largest party is invited to form the government. And if the mandate is fractured, then you go for the test on the floor. I mean, this is something which is a convention not only in India but in parliamentary democracies practically all across the world. That's the convention. And at the same time, and you can look at its Sarkaria Commission report, which said the same thing. The issue has also gone to the court, Supreme Court, couple of times, as you know, the Bomai case and all that, and the verdict has more or less been along the same lines. Going along with the Sarkaria Commission report on this particular issue. So we hope that the governor will give us a chance to form the government, and we are pretty confident that we'll give because that is the will of the people, that's the mandate of the people, and we expect the Congress and JDS would also appreciate and understand that. And at the same time, you see, as we said, we'll keep on trying, having communication with the governor, with all argument that we can put forward, and expect and hope that we will be invited to form the government. Because the people of Karnataka has voted for the change. They vote for BJP. That's the mandate. In democracy, you can go for all kinds of arguments. Congress can come to Goa and all that. They can do that. But in democracy, you have to respect the mandate of the people when the mandate is as massive as it is.
Talking about a clear majority versus a fractured mandate, you make an important point there. And the important point is that the single largest party should be invited, especially when the mandate is fractured. I wonder why this precedent was not followed in Goa, Manipur, or even in Meghalaya. And I think that is where the governors also need to do some answering. Why is the precedent broken there and wants to be followed here? Interesting point that you raised, but that also brings me to my question. And Sadanand Dhume, I will come to you. What is it that the governor in Karnataka is expected to do today? After all, it was the finance minister along with a host of other ministers from the BJP who said last year that, and especially when BJP stake claim to form governments in the 3 states that I mentioned, Goa, Manipur and Meghalaya this year, that the governor was constitutionally right in inviting the largest coalition to form the government. Because in all of these 3 states, the BJP was not the single largest party, the Congress was the single largest party. What should the governor in Karnataka be doing now? Should he be breaking away from recent precedent?
Supriya, I mean, it's very clear to me what propriety and normal precedent demands, which is that the governor call the leader of the single largest party, in this case, Mr. Yediyurappa of the BJP, and give him a chance to prove his majority on the floor of the House. That is what propriety demands. However, as your question pointed out, the BJP doesn't really have a leg to stand on. They can't toss propriety out of the window when it suits them, as they did most dramatically in Goa. I think the Manipur case was a little bit different, but either way, they can't, toss propriety out of the window when it suits them. And then you have Arun Jaitley, who's sort of a respected lawyer, tweeting to the same effect. And now, when the shoe is on the other foot, they suddenly discover what the Sarkaria Commission said. So, you can either play this hardball politics where winning is all that matters, or you can try and cloak yourself in propriety and morality. You can't have both in 2018, and you can't pretend that the rules of 2018 are dramatically different from the rules of 2017.
Swami, while we don't have a constitutional expert on the show, for us, you are the constitutional expert, Swami. What's your own sense? Like Sadanand pointed out there, the rules can't be different in 2 elections in 2018. And again, legal experts are also divided on which way the governor should move because there is precedent to justify both actions. There is precedent to justify calling Yediyurappa to form the government, and there is precedent to justify calling Siddaramaiah to form the government. But, the interpretation is sort of simple. You basically invite the coalition or the formation of parties that you believe has the ability to form a stable government. So using that interpretation, who do you think should the governor invite to form the government, Swami? Okay, I think we've lost the link there with Swami. Let me take that to Anand Ranganathan. Anand, if you got that question, what do you expect the governor to do? I mean, you heard Sadanand's point there saying that, you can't be politically convenient, when it comes to such decisions. What do you expect the governor to do?
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. Good evening. Yeah, it's been a day of topsy-turvy, turns this way and that, and I think now we've gone to the final leg of the election, which is the resort politics. But I do see Sadanand's point, but I'd like to propose something which is which probably might come across as alarming, which is that why should the governor invite one particular coalition or party? Why not throw it open to the House? And let me give you the precedents, because as Sadan was saying, there is precedents that in the case of Goa as well as in Manipur, the BJP had 21 seats, the Congress had 28 seats, and there was no pre-poll alliance of the BJP, by the way, with NPF or NPP that had 4 seats each, or LSP, or even Trinamool Congress, by the way. And the same was in Goa. It's another matter that in Goa, the Congress actually was a bit lazy and did not stake a claim. But the point is, there is precedence that the governor invited the party that did not did not get the topmost seats. But there is also precedence, and in fact, if Mr. Jaitley referred to this point, then Mr. Surjewala of the Congress referred to the point, I think in March, saying that the party with the largest seats, number of seats, should be invited by the governor. So both these parties are hypocrites. They're playing for the thing. But what I don't see is why should the governor invite only one party? Throw it open to the House. So on the floor of the House, let both opposite ends actually prove their majority. So I think while, as Sadanand says, it had been a norm until President K.R. Narayan that the largest party was invited to prove its mandate, but it's been turned upside down through a lot of other governor's decisions, and now it should be thrown open. So let the governor invite not only the BJP to prove its majority, but also Congress and the JDS, because I'll tell you what will happen. If the governor invites the BJP.
No, Anand, just hold your
let's
thoughts
say,
there.
2
I
weeks.
wanted to
In
get
those 2
opening
weeks,
comments from
we
you.
have the resort
Anand, I
politics.
wanted to get opening comments from you. I will just get a quick word from the politicians on the show. Anand, just give me a minute. I think both of you, all three of you have kind of put solutions on the table. Let me just try and get a word in from the Congress party. And Mr. Nasser Hussain, can we let a decision of government formation in Karnataka after the vote has been done be left at the mercy of past precedent, legal judgments, legal jargon? I mean, shouldn't it reflect the will of the people? That's what democratic elections are all about. Because no matter what the Congress says or shows unprecedented urgency to form governments with JDS, can you deny that Karnataka has voted you out of power? And by forming government, are you not disrespecting the mandate which is overwhelmingly against you?
See, a similar situation had arose in 3 different states in this year itself. There, I think the same thing would have applied to the other parties that were there. That is one thing. Second thing, here the people of Karnataka have not given a clear mandate. The people of Karnataka have given a mandate where a coalition can emerge after the election. It could be Congress plus JDS, it could be BJP plus JDS. Now in this case, the Congress and JDS have got together. Their numbers are very clear. Even the independents, 2 independents have supported us. It is clear. There's no way from where the BJP can get those extra seats, the extra votes. I don't think, and if you go by the argument also, the people of the Karnataka has given the most number of people in Karnataka have voted for us, 35. I mean, if you say the percentage of vote also, I think we are 1.5% ahead of what BJP has secured in the entire state. So let us not go into it. See, what does the Constitution say? Constitutions and what does the convention say? There are only 2 conventions which have been followed. One is the single largest party being called. The other is the single largest coalition, post-poll coalition being called.
Okay.
Here, the leaders of both the political parties have signed, and it has, and if at all there is any scope or any room for maneuvering, it is only horse trading.
Okay, I take that point. I take that point. You're saying if there is any scope for maneuvering, it's horse trading. Let me get a word in from Swaminathan Iyer joining us back on the phone line. Swami, what do you think should the governor do? What do you expect the governor to do? One is, what should he do? What will he do? And do you sense that resort politics is what is going to take center stage, which is sort of a tragedy, isn't it? You know, with the likes of D. Shivkumar and Reddy brothers now, they're going to be calling the shots over the next 5-7 days. You know, this is the dirty underbelly of Indian politics that's again sort of going to come come at the center stage.
Yeah, I mean, you're dead right that we may be in for a period of dirty politics. And yet, if you look at the way the laws of the Constitution have been framed, there should be no problem. I mean, suppose the BJP is called. They should not be able to split and buy votes from the other side, in which case they would be unable to form a government. And therefore, a government would be formed by the JDS and the Congress, even if the BJP was called first. The only reason why there seems to be an issue of, whom should the governor call, is that whoever is called first may then resort to the buying of votes or various other stratagems. So yes, it is a tragedy that this is the quality of Indian politics, that you cannot trust people. Now, the anti-defection law is very clear that there would have to be a split of as much as 2/3 in order to bring about a change. Can a change of that nature be brought about, even if there is horse trading, even if there is buying? Frankly, I don't think so. I don't think anybody will be able to produce a split where 2/3 of the other side will come over. But then you get to the games that can be played by the speaker. And the notion that a split is not an event, but a process, in which case, a few people can come over and then others later, and the discussion is with the speaker, then you go to the Supreme Court. So we are getting into all these basically because of the sad, unfortunate nature of our politics. Otherwise, it should make no difference as to whether you call first the BJP or first you call the other side. Either way, I think you should end up in a situation where it is the JDS and Congress that form the government because they have the numbers. Now, if you ask me what is actually going to happen, I don't know. I think at the end of it all, you may have the governor calling upon the JDS and the Congress Because, if you follow some of the precedents earlier this year, that is what happened. That regardless of whether or not, as you saw in the case of Goa, for instance, which is next to Karnataka, that if the guys who have the numbers, if they come in, maybe they should be called first. You could follow that precedent.
Right. Fair point. So, Swamy, you raise an important point there, that if you just go by constitutionality, then there's no problem. If BJP can't prove it, let's go to Congress and JDS, and if they can prove it, let them form the government. But that's not how Indian politics is. We don't play by the rule book, really, and that is why I'm going to ask this question to Naren Taneja. With what moral authority can the BJP blame the Congress today of usurping a mandate? You began it all in Goa, in Manipur, in Meghalaya. It's almost like the pot calling the kettle black. And I have another question to ask of you. You've ended with 104 seats in Karnataka. You need to get to 113. Where are those 9 seats going to come from? I really want to understand. If they're not going to come from people who are going to defect from either the JDS or Congress, where will you get those numbers from?
Well, to answer your question first, you see, the governor is governor. Governor does not really represent any political party. Once you move into Raj Bhavan, you are representing the constitution. It's a constitutional post. So, and then at the same time, in a situation like this, if you go by the history, since independence, is the governor, is his take or her take an interpretation of the situation. So to compare, let's say, with Goa, with Meghalaya or Arunachal or Manipur, the situations and circumstances were different, and individuals who were serving there as governors were different. They took their own call. So I think we have to respect it, because otherwise, we are basically going in a completely different direction. If we say, all right, because the men's or the women's background was BJP, so he or she must have favored BJP. That's not a very healthy approach. Here in Karnataka, the situation is different. It's a bigger state. Mandate is very clear, and look at the size of the mandate, and Congress numbers have come down. Congress support has come down. So it's a very clear mandate that people can see. We can always argue on numbers that we are short of. We need actually 111, not 113, because their by-elections would have to take place. Because some seats, as you know, some candidates have fought from 2 different seats, and so what we require is basically we're just short of 7 numbers. And we are pretty confident that these numbers will come. And of course, I can understand.
From where, I wish you'd answer from where, unless there is going to be a sudden change of heart, unless these MLAs one fine day wake up and realize that spiritually or emotionally they are more attached to the BJP.
I'm coming to that.
But one second, Naren Taneja, let me get in Sadanand Dume. Because, I don't want us to lose sight. I don't want to lose sight of.
You didn't allow me to finish my sentence.
Okay, Mr. Taneja, complete your point. Okay, complete your point.
Undemocratic.
Complete your point, sir. Complete your point.
At least let me complete my sentence.
Go ahead, complete your point.
Please, point I was trying to make, the most democratic process is we are the single largest party. We are invited to prove our majority on the, on the floor of the House. And if we don't have the numbers, we'll accept it.
Okay. I take that point. I wish that principle was applied in a sort of in a transparent manner across the board, as Sadanand pointed out. But Sadanand, even as we sort of call out the political opportunism here and the political hypocrisy, call it what you want to be, the fact of the matter is we can't lose sight of the mandate. I mean, this is a massive setback for the Congress, and there's no other way to look at it. And I'm afraid the headlines are going to be all about who's going to form the government and how there is going to be horse trading and whatnot. But the mandate is overwhelmingly against the Congress. I mean, this isn't the BJP has actually done pretty well to get to 104, 103, 104, and it's a massive setback for the Congress. We must not lose sight of the fact that the mandate is overwhelmingly against the Congress party.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that if you were to very narrowly look at only the facts of this election, the moral argument is clearly with the BJP for precisely that reason. The Congress was in power. The people of Karnataka clearly voted out the Congress. Vote share does not matter in the system that India has chosen. What matters is seat share. That has always been the convention all the way from 1947. And under those circumstances, it is very clear that the people of Karnataka did not vote for the Congress. At the same time, it's very clear that they had no inkling that Congress and JDS would tie up. As you recall, the Congress was criticizing JDS and calling it the BJP B team. So, morally, in terms of mandate, the BJP clearly has a very strong case. The problem they have, and I wish Mr. Taneja had the ability to admit this, but he's a spokesperson, so I understand his compulsions. The problem they have is that exactly the same argument, word for word, could be applied to Goa last year. And the BJP must ask itself, why does it play this kind of hardball politics that has no place for morality and then cloak itself in morality? It can't have it both ways. So if we are to accept that morality simply doesn't matter, propriety simply does not matter in Indian politics, then I think that all is fair. I think that the BJP will in fact form the government in Karnataka the way they did in 2008, and they would just have ended up as winners both in Goa and in Karnataka, and not care terribly about the hypocrisy of it.
I'm going to take that argument forward. And, I think in 1989, Rajiv Gandhi denied the opportunity to form the government. 1996, Atal Bihari Vajpayee lost the vote. Then, of course, Goa, Manipur, Meghalaya, and all of that happened. And now we're debating this. But this mandate and what follows also exposes political opportunism of the worst kind, Mr. Nasir Hussain, because you fought JDS till yesterday, like Sadanand was pointing out there. You called them the BJP B team. It didn't take you very long to join hands immediately. In the middle of counting today, you were willing to give statements together. Is this a function of your diminishing influence? And is that an area of concern? You've offered chief ministership to JDS, which has just 38 MLAs. You've at least ended the tally with 78. I mean, you are willing, are you telling me you're going to be willing to be contesting 10 seats in UP tomorrow, given SP-BSP tie-up? Doesn't this marginalization bother the Congress party that was the only pan-India party till not too long back?
Look, all political parties have different strategies for different times and different contexts. I would just like to respond to Mr. Sadanand that the BJP has the favorable mandate here in Karnataka, and he went on to say, and you also said that JDS and Congress fought bitterly. I would like to remind them, in the Goa election, Vijay Sardesai went to the extent of saying that he will do anything, but he will never get along with BJP or he will not align with BJP. In Meghalaya, Conrad Sangma said that he will die, but he will never go with BJP. There are similar situations where people have fought against BJP, and then they got together after the election. And if you go by just allow me to speak. Just allow me to speak. See, and if you go by this argument that
this is not about the BJP. I'm asking Congress a question.
The percentage just allow me. If the percentage doesn't count, then it also says that you will have to have that magic figure to form the government. And here, neither Mr. Narendra Taneja or nobody else is explaining to the viewers as to how will they get that number, from where will they get that number. This is what they did in Arunachal Pradesh, where we had a stable government. They went on to destabilize the government, and the court went against them, and the court quashed that order. After that also, that didn't deter them,
Mr.
and they
Hussain,
went, and again
the
within
thing
6
is,
months they again
Mr. Hussain, Mr. Hussain, let me interrupt you. Mr. Hussain, let me interrupt you. The thing is, if Swaminathan Iyer, Sadanand Dume or Anand Ranganathan were to make this point on how will they get this number, it's fair and legitimate. But for the Congress party to talk about where will they get the number, given your own track record of being in power for 6 years, people are going to see through that. Anyways, I take that. Anand Ranganathan in defeat, are we seeing, here's a party that's got 78 seats, but in defeat, are we seeing newfound spunk in Congress? Look at the swiftness with which they moved today. First to reach Raj Bhavan, Gehlot and Azad, were parked there since yesterday. They got there a day before. You could almost sense the Congress is, Jagannathan earlier in the day, R. Jaggi, he said that this is desperation. Some would call it political acumen. The fact that they were swift to move, they didn't let them, they didn't miss an opportunity to form power. Are you sensing a newfound spunk in the Congress party, Anand?
I think what's more surprising than Congress moving swiftly, because of course it would, is that the JDS played its card incredibly swiftly. Now, much to everyone's surprise, I'm surprised people are not talking about that much, because had they delayed, had they not okayed their merger with or their accession to or exceeding the request of the Congress and delayed it by a couple of days, then the BJP would have quoted them as well. Then it would have been who would form the government? Would it be Congress plus JDS or BJP plus JDS? Would the BJP, like the Congress, allow for a JDS chief minister and itself to be, relegated to forming a government where it has a deputy chief minister? So I think, but full marks to them. I mean, they were absolutely sure that they are going to align with not the BJP but with the Congress, and therefore they moved. So it's the swiftness of the JDS that actually completely threw water over all the political harakiri or whatever games that were going to be played. But let me make one other point that actually, if I can disagree with Sadanand on one point. You see, this election has shown a couple of things. I think one is there is no doubt that although it has lessened in its height, we still see a Modi wave. I mean, it's obviously it's not a tsunami, but it's about a year away from the shore,
we're covering
and
that
the
point a
BJP
little
is
later
still
in the show.
surfing on it.
Anand,
the other point to be made.
Anand,
Yeah,
we are covering,
right. So just
that
finish one
specific
point on
a
the
little
Congress,
later in the
saying
show.
that of course.
Just bear with me. I am
Yeah.
covering the point on Mr. Modi's popularity a little later in the show,
Right,
so I will
okay.
come back to you on exactly
Sure.
that point, because that's earmarked. I'll come back to you. But we were talking about the JDS and the Congress alliance.
Right.
And Swami, this alliance also exposes the fault lines where regional parties will flex muscles, demand a pound of the flesh, at times holding the national parties ransom. It's almost like, you win in your state, and then somebody in New Delhi is going to want you, whether it's the Congress or the BJP, we'll figure out later. It also gives you a sense of how regional parties can flex muscles sometimes, and not to the best advantage of the state themselves. Swami?
Well, this has happened before and it will happen again. We have since 1989 onwards, shall we say, been fundamentally in a coalition era. And to have a non-coalition government is a rarity. Most of the time, there's been coalition politics, within which we have had extreme opportunism on the part of regional parties. I don't see how it can be otherwise. I think one way in which Mr. Modi won in 2014 was partly because there was a large number of people saying, how do we oust the ruling Congress party? In 2019, a lot of regional guys may be saying, how do we oust the ruling BJP? And yes, so there's Lord Palmerston who once said, we have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, we only have permanent interests. I think that could be the kind of quotation that a regional party would give as well, that they have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. But, they will look for the opportunity and strike whenever they can. I think this is, among other things, giving notice that, in some places, as in Goa, you will find that somebody will team up with the BJP cynically. And in some places like Karnataka, equally cynically, you will tie up with the Congress. You will tie up with whomever you think is most convenient. That has been happening and it will continue. I do not see how it can be otherwise in our kinds of politics.
Fair enough. I take that point, Sadanand. Let's look at the big picture. And, just to take that point a little further, when you look at 2019, what's evident is that this is going to sort of catalyze some sort of movement between the opposition parties. Various leaders like Mamata Banerjee have expressed their views on how the Congress and the JDS should have fought this election together. You had Mayawati sort of jump into the fray, speak to Devagowda, and urge him to tie up with the Congress party. And markets, investors are very nervous about the prospect of all these leaders coming together and cobbling some sort of a third front. But is that a reality that we now need to live with? And what implications will that in general have on A, on 2019, and B, on policy making in general?
I mean, I think the implications for 2019 are quite bad for Congress. First of all, I do not see a JDS Congress government. I think the most likely scenario is that we're going to see the BJP form a government like it did in 2008. Where Yediyurappa will get first stab, and he doesn't need 2/3 of JD to break 2/3 or anything. He just needs a handful of MLAs from the Congress and JDS to resign, and then there'll be bypolls. So I think this will be, Karnataka will be a BJP state. I cannot imagine Amit Shah allowing this prize out of his fingers, and that leaves Congress in a very weak position. It has no major state, unless you count Punjab in its kitty. It has a very limited fundraising base. The launch and relaunch of Rahul Gandhi does not seem to be working with voters, even if it does work somewhat with pundits. And that really weakens the party's hand going into any kind of coalition. So I would say that given the result as we see it now, it is definitely advantage BJP.
Naren Taneja, is this also now a given that in any three-way battle, BJP will be the default winner? And which is why we will perhaps see the index of opposition unity come to fore. I mean, Mamata Banerjee has already tweeted today that, and I think Sandeep mentioned it, that how the Congress and the JDS should have fought elections together, the day would have been very different. Are we going to see, political rivals bury their differences, all come together and stop this Modi-Shah juggernaut of sorts? And if that happens, are we also going to see a competition where Mr. Modi is not in direct contest with Rahul Gandhi, but he's going to be engaged in these duels across states in India? And doesn't that get tougher?
I mean, what's common between Mr. Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi? Mr. Narendra Modi is like the Himalayas, and Rahul Gandhi is like a hillock in Amethi somewhere. So, I mean, his media does it. We don't really look at Rahul Gandhi as competition to our leader. But you see the important point, a couple of important points here. Number one is that, information that we have that in Karnataka, JDS is going to form the government and Congress is going to support from outside. And that means there will be no stability. Even if they get a chance, they get invited by the governor. So it's the JDS which is going to rule. I mean, JDS is the mandate from the people to sit in the opposition and is the third party. And what Congress is trying to do is basically to impose JDS on the people, and with Congress just supporting from the side. And we all know what happened, what Congress did. You remember to Charan Singh government long time ago. And what happened to the Charan Singh government. The same thing will happen there. So the point is that here BJP people have given a mandate to us. We will celebrate, and if we don't get a chance, we'll explain to the people with the real face of the Congress party. And whatever little credibility they have and the leader have, even that will get destroyed in the process. Now, second point which you raised is, the point is that parties come together, but you have to have something in common: ideology, agenda, or common purpose, or the same kind of political. There has to be something in common. And in my home state in Uttar Pradesh, I don't see anything common between Congress and BSP, for instance, or Congress and Samajwadi Party at the same time. And you go further down to, let's say, West Bengal. What is common between Mamata Banerjee and Samajwadi Party? Or for that matter, if CPM also joined the third or the 30th front, whatever they finally decide to call it. So they can attempt it. They can form third, fourth, fifth, sixth, ninth, formation, front, whatever they may call it. But they have no chance. People of India can see through these games. They are sick of all this. People of India want strong leadership. They want a clear vision. And they are worried about one thing. When it comes to the center, they know they can understand. They may not be articulate their thoughts very well. They can understand Pakistan. They can see economic growth. They can see China in their own way, in their own very simple way. Okay. But they want stability, and they want someone in the cockpit of India who can actually govern this country. Okay, and right now, we don't know about it. Right now, the person they have in mind to go across the country is Mr. Narendra Modi and no one else.
Okay, it's going to be tough to argue on that point. I appreciate your sense of humor referring to it as the third or 30th front. But, when you speak of common ideologies, I wonder what the common ideologies between the BJP and the PDP in Jammu and Kashmir, or for that matter between Nitish Kumar and BJP when you align with Lalu Prasad Yadav. But let's leave that aside. Swami, another interpretation of this verdict: is corruption not as big an issue as it is made out to be? I mean, the BJP's endorsement of Yedurappa and the Reddy brothers giving, so many tickets to people associated with that family, didn't make a difference at all. Eventually, it was all about winnability, and they delivered.
I would disagree. I would say that if they did not have the problem of being tainted with the Reddy brothers, perhaps the BJP would have won outright. You can argue it either way, but it does seem to me that a certain number of people would have been disillusioned with the BJP for this particular attitude. Sometimes it's well worth going for the long term rather than the short term. Suppose the BJP had said, we are not going to go with Yedurappa. In any case, he's crossed the magic age of 75, after which we are not supposed to be appointing people. Also, he's associated with the Reddy brothers. I mean, when I was in Karnataka and said, what about Reddy brothers? And some people said, Yeddi is worse than Reddy. So, I mean, the reputation for corruption of the BJP was bad. Had it completely dissociated itself from those people, it might have had a problem of unity. But I think it would have given a higher moral ground. I think even if not in this election, the longer term, that would have served the BJP well. In my view, by associating with the Reddy brothers, the BJP perhaps lost itself this election. So I will not agree that corruption is a non-issue.
Okay, Swami thinks corruption isn't a non-issue, but Anand Ranganathan, coming to you, and I think Swami has mentioned this point before when he has been on our shows previously, the Indian electorate is getting impatient. I mean, it's not as if Siddharamaiah led a weak government, or it didn't do enough. It didn't fail miserably during its term. He was the first chief minister to complete his term in 25 years. And yet we have seen this wave of anti-incumbency, this impatience with the electorate. What does that tell you about voter psyche? I mean, the mood across India is one of impatience. People want delivery. If you don't have delivery, they'll throw you out. And, do you expect the Congress on the back of this argument to do well in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh? Because that is where the BJP has been an incumbent for a decade almost. And the Congress will be the challenger. I'm presuming the equations are going to be different. There will be an anti-incumbency factor that the BJP will have to battle this time around.
Yeah, Supriya, that's a very interesting question. How does one judge anti-incumbency? So, for example, if you take Karnataka elections, now Congress has actually got 1.7% more vote share than the BJP. Congress has got 3% more vote share than it did the last time round. So, would you say that the anti-incumbency was still prevalent? I would have my doubts. Nonetheless, it is a fact that we have the first past the post system. So, of course, Congress lost about 50 odd seats. So, yes, the mandate, you can say, was against the Congress. But at the same time, it's a very unusual situation where you can say that the mandate is against the Congress, and yet Congress has increased its vote share by 3% and has defeated the nearest rival by 1.7%. So, I'm not too sure about where to put this thing about the incumbency. I think the fact is that everyone was expecting the JDS to play the Kingmaker, and it played the King. I think we have to accept that.
You can't deny that when Kumaraswamy and Devagowda kept speaking, kept talking about this, when JDS spokespersons used to come on this show and say that, we all would sort of, laugh and then it turned out they've actually ended up playing the Kingmaker. But to you, Mr. Hussain, and this is an interesting statistic, what this election also signals is the way the youngsters have voted. A whole block of first-time voters and youngsters have clearly tilted the scales in favor of BJP. And many are wondering if, does this signal that 25 million odd voters that the country keeps adding each year perhaps don't see the Congress as a viable option?
See, I agree with what Mr. Anand Ranganathan said just now. See, 3% more than 2013 and 1.8% more than the BJP, which has got more number of seats in this election. So how do we explain anti-incumbency? How do we explain that the people voted against the incumbent government? Because the kind of schemes that Siddaramaiah's government gave to the people of Karnataka is unparalleled in the when you compare to other states. The people from other states had actually come down to do a bit of research on what these kind of schemes were, the kind of social security schemes that were given, the kind of governance that was given. Law and order was much better than 2008 to 2013 BJP government. There's a comparative figures that have been that is there in public domain. And then there was no black spot on the chief minister's. On the chief minister, he was supposed to be the strongest chief minister the Karnataka state had in the past few years, or past few decades. And he is the one after Devaraj, I think after 30 years, here is a man who completes the 5-year tenure. And there's no major scam, no scandal, nothing. And even after that, then I think what I analyzed the whole day sitting in front of the channels is the better poll management by the BJP, better election management by the BJP, which has got them the day. I think I have to accept that. they do it very meticulously, but we rely more
Yes.
on our policies and programs, on our ideology. They go to the poll because for them it is by hook or crook they have to win the election. We don't do that. We rely on our policies, programs, on our ideology, on our mass contact programs. I think there they had an edge. They'd have done it.
Right.
Let me accept that. Otherwise, you get 1.5%, close to 2%. See, in other states, if you get close to 2% percentage
Right,
of
right.
votes more than
Mr.
the other
Nasir
party, you get up 30 to 40 seats more.
Okay. Yeah, it should have been 50 odd seats. You know, but the reality also is we can keep talking about your number being, some few percentage points higher than the BJP, no denying that, and it's the first past the position that gets the vote. But the reality also is that the BJP's vote share went up stupendously from 19.3% in 2013 to nearly 36 odd percent this time around. So, we can't ignore that vote share as well. And Sadanand, I have to ask you this question. Are we also seeing a vote beyond traditional caste configurations and arithmetic?
That is
There
because
was
the
so much-
KJP, that is because the KJP, BJP and BSR got together.
Okay.
That is because the KJP,
For whatever
BJP
reason,
and
their
BSR
vote
got
share did
together this time
consolidate and
around.
that finally did go up. Okay, I take your point. But Sadanand, I'm going to ask you, there was so much talk on the Congress's Ahinda social coalition. As Yashwant Deshmukh, I think today on Twitter said, elections in India are witnessing new class groups, housewives, students, middle class. Do you believe those barriers are being broken? Do you believe there is this formation of the new group? Or do you actually believe that even now the Dalit vote was a function of a Mayawati presence in the JDS camp and that split between the Congress and the JDS? Do you believe we still voting with those parameters, or have some of those parameters broken into a different class altogether?
I don't know. I haven't seen, any conclusive data that would sway me to believe into thinking that voting patterns have changed dramatically. I think you do see in some states, right? You certainly saw in the 2014 national election, and you saw in 2017 in Uttar Pradesh that these things are not, cast in stone. So you might, for example, have a group, the Lingayats, who lean heavily towards the BJP. That doesn't mean that every single person who's a Lingayat is automatically voting for the BJP. Human identity tends to be a little bit more complex. And I would imagine that over time, with rising education levels and greater urbanization, some of this kind of pure identity-based voting is going to get diluted. I don't think we have evidence to suggest right now that it is not important. Just one quick sort of response to Mr. Hussein's argument about the BJP and the Congress and vote share. I think he's confusing two different things. It's certainly true that the BJP has a better ground game than the Congress, but the reason why Congress's slightly higher vote share produces far fewer seats is due to dispersal. It's not due to the ground game. It's the fact that the BJP's votes tend to be concentrated and the Congress's votes tend to be dispersed across the state, which is why in a first-past-the-post system in Karnataka, regardless of what the ground game is, you're going to get this kind of outcome.
That's a absolutely valid point indeed, Sadanand. The concentrated vote share is what made the difference eventually to the BJP. But Mr. Taneja, we were talking about it earlier. We've got three crucial elections coming up in the Hindi heartland, elections where the BJP is in power. Yes, irrespective of who forms the government in Karnataka, the fact of the matter is that the BJP has done well, and to some extent, the momentum is with the BJP. Yet, the issues are very different. I mean, 2013, the Congress formed the government in Karnataka and got routed in these states and then got routed again in 2014. So, the issues are very different. Is there any correlation between this outcome and the elections that are stated for later this year in MP, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan?
Well, you see, state elections are always a bit different ball game. I mean, look at, for instance, you talked about percentage of BJP. In 2013, we got only 40 seats in Karnataka, only 40. Today, we have got 104. So, in terms of percentage, you can easily calculate. That's the kind of, growth or rise we have seen in the state of Karnataka. Because you see the difference, like my friend from the Congress party was saying, the difference is we are a cadre-based party. We are a party with, 11 crore members, very well driven. You know, there's structures, and our party really works like a party in other parts of the world. It's a proper party. It's not like one person or two persons dominating and dictating. It's like that. It's very much, you know, bottom-up party, and I'm part of the party and I know it every day. I experience it every day. Unlike the Congress party used to be a cadre-based party until, the late 70s. But then Mrs. Indira Gandhi, that time she destroyed that base and it became a proprietorship, which it is now. So I think comparison therefore between BJP and Congress is unfair. Here is a proprietorship and then you've got a proper cadre-based party. And there are other cadre-based parties as well, for instance CPM, and there are quite a few others. But to answer your question, you see, we look at Madhya Pradesh as a different entity and Rajasthan completely different, and we have worked out our strategy. We have a deep strategy meet actually. Even just last week when even Mr. Amit Shah was busy campaigning in Karnataka, he flew down to Madhya Pradesh just to participate in that meeting, spend the whole day there and then back to Karnataka. So that's the kind of, long-term planning that we do in terms of, the challenges ahead, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan and all that. So our focus is on individual state. At the same time, we are focusing on every single constituency in terms of 2019. So point I'm trying to drive home is this that you don't get victory in India just like that. You have to work hard, you have to connect with the people, and you can see the kind of support we have got in the rural areas in Karnataka Pradesh. That's basically a game changer. It's going to basically change the game for BJP across southern part of the country.
Okay, yes. Mr. Taneja, some of your point is valid that you are a very well-oiled, ruthless political machinery, 24/7 politicians in your party. But let me go across to Swamy. And Swamy, I really think that irrespective of whoever forms the government, it seems to be very clear, and Anand Ranganathan was alluding to this point earlier, and I'll take it up with him next. It is quite clear that the Modi magic is still very alive. Many believe he turned the election once he stepped into Karnataka. The narrative was very much with Siddaramaiah, and things turned when the Prime Minister walked in. Now, how much of the Karnataka victory is on account of the Prime Minister, and what part of the credit do you believe Yeddi deserves?
I would say overwhelmingly it is Modi's victory. I would say that the local guys are tainted. The local guys are to that extent actually in various ways a disadvantage. It is true that vote bank politics works up to a point. It is true that money works up to the point. And to that extent, you can say that, it is not 100% Modi. But I would say without Modi, the BJP would have had a disastrous performance. Without doubt, Modi was an important factor. Having said that, let me say that having been around Karnataka at election time, there were many people who said for the general election, they will vote for Modi. But in the state election, they would vote either for JDS or Congress. In other words, Modi is much more popular than the party is. And I think the same factor will now apply when we go to the central Indian elections in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. A similar kind of issue will arise. I think if the local leaders themselves wouldn't be able to win on their own, will they be able to win even with Modi? I do not know. If you ask me, definitely the one thing in common between Karnataka and the central Indian states would be the issue of anti-incumbency. And the same anti-incumbency which worked for the BJP in raising its vote share and its share of its seats here, it will work against it in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. So I would say, well, you may say there is still some Modi magic. Is that Modi magic going to be enough to carry those three states? And I think it is far from certain. I would not be surprised if the BJP loses two or even all three of those.
So Anand Ranganathan, coming to you. Swamy says Modi magic is very much intact, yet he is doubtful if he will see that pull them through in the three states of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. I'll sort of, ask you to move one step ahead and look at 2019, assuming this magic stays and that's going to be a direct contest between Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi. Is that a contest at all? I mean, or is it going to be Modi versus nobody in 2019 as Narendra Taneja would like us to believe?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, and I think we have to get away from this narrative of Modi versus Rahul. I mean, the fact of the matter is that in fact, life would be much more easier for Congress if it, like me, saw itself as a regional party. I really do, and I think that's what it is. Now the point is, it has its, of course, historical baggage and so much ego that restricts itself from seeing itself as a regional party. But the fact of the matter is that had it got into a pre-poll alliance as a regional party with JDS, it probably would have won this election. And that is what it has to realize. I mean, Modi knows this, that in 2019, everyone, barring a few regional parties, are ganged up against him. The only way he can be beaten is possibly through a lot of anti-incumbency, but that doesn't exist to a huge extent, surprisingly or unsurprisingly at the national level, but through pre-poll alliances of the opposition parties. So they can win the election, but the point is what happens after that? Who is going to be, who is going to lead that enormous coalition, or third or 30 front or whatever. But the point is Modi can be beaten, and BJP could have been beaten out here in Karnataka had Congress realized that it has actually boiled down to a regional party, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are some great powerful regional parties, and it is time that the media as well as a lot of journalists and commentators start looking at Congress as a good regional party. There's nothing wrong in that.
Okay. Okay. A quick word then to you, Mr. Nasser, and I think the question that the Congress party is today also facing is that according to the Association of Democratic Reforms, the BJP raised 5 times your money in 2017, and I'm presuming the trend will continue. How big a blow is the Karnataka defeat going to be as far as your own fundraising plans are concerned? Here you are against a well-oiled, ruthless political machinery, very well flushed with funds, and you may have trouble raising big money because Karnataka was a one big bastion, a humming economy where you could have raised funds.
There are two things. One, let me respond to Mr. Narendra Tarneja. When I meant that the BJP is very good at poll management, what I meant by that was they have this. How do they? It is not the hard work that they put in at the level of the booth, or that the cadre that works very hard at the booth. See, I have seen this in this election. I have very meticulously followed the pattern. I have been touring the entire North Karnataka for the past 1.5 months. See, there are certain things which they do which we don't do. Like they look at the what caste the caste of the Congress candidate, caste of the JDS candidate. Then they prop up a few independents, put them in the fray, try to cut into their votes. If you see the propping of MEP party, the AMM, there are certain parties which align them with whom they have this clandestine understanding, and they prop them up to cut into the vote bank of the other parties. This is something which they do very harshly, and they do it very meticulously. And then how do they use their resources, and what are their resources meant for? That is only meant for the money distribution. And where do they distribute the money? And how do they take the cards, the voters' ID card of the people belonging to a particular vote bank? There are certain things where they do at the booth level which the Congress party doesn't do. That is what I meant to say. It is not that it's a cadre party and it's a very hard working
I'm not
party
sure anyone can take a high moral ground. But
Obviously,
if you could quickly answer this question, sir, we're running out of time. If you could quickly answer the question,
that is one thing. Second,
don't crack jokes. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh.
Second thing.
Don't make me laugh. No jokes, please.
Don't make me laugh. You look at the number of independents that have been put up by the BJP there.
Mr. Nasser, sir, please answer the question that Supriya asked. We're running out of time, sir. Please answer the question. I'm out of time.
No jokes.
I'm out of time. Mr. Hussain, please answer the question. How are you going to raise money? How are you going to raise money going into 2019? Answer that question. Who's going to write you a check?
See, Congress has
it's a rich party. It's a very rich party.
Been after money. Congress has never been after money. We don't have Amit Shahs to collect money from all of the country. We don't have people who will do
They're
this.
Never short of money. They're very rich party. They made billions in dollar terms. They made billions in dollar terms. Very rich party.
The whole world Now, by now, the whole world knows who which party has done what kind of money, they have they have garnered from the entire country.
I don't think
and whom they are associated with.
The whole world
Who are
knows.
the people that are running away out of the country with the money of the people of this country?
I think
Meher Chokshi, Mehta, Adani, Ambani,
and you can exchange one second. Mr. Nasir and Mr. Narendra Taneja, 1 second. This has to stop right now. Get their faders down. This has to stop right now. I can give you each other's numbers, exchange numbers, find out who's writing the biggest check, approach them, both of you, and let's see who the check is written for. But having said that, completely out of time on this edition of the India Development Debate, Sadanand Dubey, Swaminathan Nair, Anand Ranganathan, of course, the two spokespersons, both from the Congress and the BJP, Narendra Taneja and Nasir Hussain, thank you very, very much for being with us. The dance of democracy continues. What we are worried about as citizens and not just as journalists of India is that the dirty underbelly of Indian politics is perhaps going to be exposed from here on till government formation. I wish there are changes made in the constitution. I wish a public debate, a public narrative starts on that, on how this can be stopped, because this ugly, vulgar use of money in politics is what is keeping people away from participating in democracy in a truly meaningful way. Karnataka has delivered the verdict, but like I've been saying, the game for power has just begun.
Oh yes, indeed. We still don't know who's going to form the government, but we do know it's a vote against the Congress party. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can't join hands with the Janata Dal secular and form the government. Eventually, the governor has to make the decision, and hopefully he'll take the right call. Thanks for being with us in this special edition of the India Development Debate. Up next is Top 10 at 10 with Tanya. Keep it with ET now. Good night.